bipartisan, bisexual, perpendicular bisector. Today, guys, I'm going to be talking to you about what has happened as a result of me today discovering the definition of bipartisan. Now, I do not live in the United States of America, and although I was born there, I live here in the United Kingdom and have lived here, and I am African by descent, I'm African by blood, and it is crazy when I discover so many things, because this concept of bipartisan, right, which means like when two parties come together who are not supposed to agree on their ideologies, etc., etc., they come together for a reason. We have this thing in the United Kingdom, it's called a coalition. And I have so much to say about this and history and Adolf Hitler, because I've been reading Mein Kampf. And boy, is it good. When I was in history at school, and you guys know I have a lot of thoughts about education because I am, first of all, I'm a teacher. I teach maths and science. As we speak today, as the good Lord, while you're hearing my voice, my students are in exams, which is actually why I'm recording a video at this time of the day, as opposed to teaching. And I've been praying because I've been in school. When I was in school, I did history. When I was in history, my history teacher, who was a man who decided that, I'm leaving when y'all are leaving. So his first year was the year we started, and his last year was the year we ended. We got a new head teacher. She was crazy. She is crazy. 20 to 30 of the academic staff left. Oh my gosh, the airplane. Wow. That has to be an international flight. If it's that loud, that's got to be a huge jet engine. We've got like 4 engines going on, some Qatar Airways. That's coming from Australia or something. Anyway, so yeah, Australia is actually where he moved to as well, funnily enough. He moved to Australia when we finished. Yes, she was crazy. She was just nuts. 25 of the academic staff left. The remaining staff were like, well, you know what, we're old enough. We'll just like ride it out. So this is who we're talking about, and this is how this links to the coalition, because it was in his class. At school, I learned what a coalition was, and the United Kingdom formed a coalition in the government. And this is what changed my opinion of the government forever. So at the time of this happening, bearing in mind, I've been told, both from my African background, both from society, you need to go to university. University is the way to go, blah, blah. I did therefore do a degree in the end. We'll talk about that. Bipartisan, bisexual, perpendicular bisector, right? That last one there is a topic we teach in maths. There's a reason for everything I'm saying in this video. I'm not saying I'm bisexual, by the way, guys. I'm actually heterosexual, just to be very clear, in case anybody's like... Honestly, to be honest, the only reason I have to say that is because I know there's people who like to lie on my name, and they will take things I've said and they'll misconstrue it in a way that they're so good at it that people believe them. So I just have to say some things in plain English. So anyway, back to history. Forget English, back to history. So speaking of history, isn't it interesting how the United Kingdom doesn't teach about how America got their independence, but they teach a lot of other things about America? Something else I found very interesting. I found very interesting in school, in general, what history was taught and what history wasn't taught. For that, very interesting, because like, oh, so why are we bringing light to certain things, but we don't talk about others? Anyway, so coalition. When I was in secondary school, when I was at school in school uniform in history class, I was sitting there learning about the structure of our government in this country, and I was learning about like, what does that mean, like whatever. I understood and I respected the fact that different parties have different values and they support their value, and then it's supposed to be up to the public to support who they want to support, who aligns with their values. It is a fair system. It's a fair team working system that if a certain group with certain values has more people supporting their values, they get to be in power, because that means us as the people have power, which we have so much power, we just don't use it well, which is my biggest problem with humanity today. It's not even that people aren't using it well. It's just, it is that people are not using it well. Because people are using it, they're just using it wrongly. So I'm like, okay, cool. Then this concept of a coalition comes up. Coalition, co-aligning. The Bible says, how can two walk together unless agreed? So you're telling me that I'm in school. The amount of money you need to spend to go to university at this time is £3,000 a year in tuition fees alone, right? £3,000. 3,000 great British pound sterling. which I always say that like that because I have to admit, like, as an adult and as a person who's, again, lived around the world and traveled to a lot of places, that pound sterling is heavy. So when I'm saying one Great British pound, I got a pound right here. This right here, this is heavy. In comparison to the same amount in other countries, like a euro, a dollar, a pound, one Great British pound is heavy. Like as a currency, it's heavy. Like, and I mean that in a financial sense. So me having a Great British pound here, listen to that. Heavy, right? 3,000 Great British pounds per year. Okay. Generations before didn't pay for university. Generations after, me. Listen to what happened. So the government, currently people paying £3,000 a year, Great British pounds, for tuition fees. It's crazy money. That's crazy money when back in those days, I don't know what the figure is now, the average household income was like between, I think it's 16 and 18,000 a year. Great British pound sterling. If you change that into your own currency, it will sound like more money than it actually is. So yeah. And also, that's another thing I noticed. It's funny that my new bank card came today. Funny that I lost my whole purse this exact time last year. You know what's funny about all of this? When I was out here using this very bank card that's now just arrived today, when I was using it around the world, every time I would spend money in other countries, I'll be like, why does it seem like I've got more money? Like, it was crazy. And it's this card. It's the international card I've got. Hashtag Sterling Bank. Shout out to Sterling Bank. Great international services. You can by the way, don't get caught up in the trap of, like, before you go on holiday getting all this money in cash in another currency. A lot of check that you can use these cards in various currencies. In fact, Sterling Bank was hella gangster about it, because when I traveled and I was going to ask them, and they were like, I was about to ask them about traveling, like, if you decide to travel, they messaged me ahead of time. They're like, don't worry, if you travel, you can use this same card, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, I would have more money in other countries. I'll be looking at my bank balance and like, why is my bank balance looking more than what I expected, when, like, in the UK it's always less than I expected. 3,000 Great British pound sterling for a degree. So the Liberal Democrats, right? Lib Dems, they were claiming they were going to eradicate tuition fees. I remember this so well because every time, all these events that took place during my life taught me a lot about society. You know what I mean? Like 9/11, Chris Brown and Rihanna. Like, there's certain things where I just realized certain things about society. So the Liberal Democrats have claimed we're going to abolish this whole thing about paying for university. I'm going to tell you guys how much I paid for university in a minute, or in how much in debt I am for university in a minute. Right. Who is it? Conservatives want to put the money up. They want to make it higher. Whatever. Coalition is formed, and tuition fees went up to 9,000 Great British pound sterling, which is what I am in debt for. It is now more than that. So, what am I saying? Bipartisan, bisexual, perpendicular, bisector. I'm saying that when you co-align, join with something that doesn't align with your values, somebody's values are always going to come on top anyways, always, and that's what's going to happen. That's what I learned. I was learning in history. Shout out to Mr. Moss, I believe that's his name. I was learning in history at school about the structure of the United Kingdom government. At the same time, I'm learning why they all have different parties, why the parties are different, why we don't all just have one big party where we all agree, because we don't all agree. But then we form coalitions. I paid 9,000. I'm in debt £9,000 per year just on tuition fees alone to the United Kingdom government. And this is something that, again, the older generations don't think about, because they'll be like, yeah, get a degree, it's fine, you get a free loan. I am not in favor of doing that whatsoever, and I'll tell you why. Because when you start working, that money starts to come out real quick. And especially when you're somebody like me who has done a good degree and can get a really good job. Excuse me, darling. The second I'm earning certain amounts, just like with tax, I will be asked to pay more money in student finance. And it is not just a small extra payment when you are a 20-year-old. Well, 20, I'm 27. I can't imagine me calling myself 20-year-old. In your 20s, trying to get your life together, trying to do things like buying a house, trying to do things like all of this, all of that, saving, whatever we're supposed to do. That, and then the tax as well. Guys, when I tell you that I did the math, listen, I'm going to give you guys a perfect actual example. Listen to me, right? And we're coming back to Adolf and everything. So my friend, so I'm so sorry, guys. I'm actually ill. Like, I don't know what it, actually I know what it is. It's the change in temperature, because when it gets warmer, I just feel less better. I feel better in the cold. Anyway, not Adolf Hitler. I'm going to give you guys a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So I had a friend. We're no longer friends, unfortunately. Fortunately and unfortunately, as in like, fortunately because it probably was for the best, but unfortunately because I do actually miss our friendship and I do love her and wish her the absolute very best in life. And yes, I pray that she's doing the best. Me and her, this is us, right? We've done what we're supposed to do, right? We've gone to school. We've gotten our education. We've gone and done good subjects, right? We go to A-level, which for those outside the UK, I'll explain something about our school system. It's split into 3. Before university, it's split into 3, yes. So you have up to about age 10, 11, that's primary school. Up to age 16, that's secondary school. 16 to 18 is what we call A-levels. You study a couple of subjects in a proper academic way, or vocational studies. So you study subjects that you learn as you do. It's more about the doing than it is the learning. Both can give you equivalent credits to get into university, of which all universities, depending on their level, can ask for more or less number of credits to get in, okay? So me and her have both done these A-levels that we're supposed to be doing. In fact, to talk about the government once again, I and her, the place we did our A-levels, the sixth form, we call it the sixth form, was the best in England when I went there. The best in England. But highest grades. The Prime Minister came to cut the tape and everything. I think it was David Cameron at the time, I can't remember. Prime Minister came to cut the tape and everything. There was ones everywhere. So we've both done our education there, right? I just so happen to live there. Praise be the name of Jesus. Praise be the favor of the Lord when you are one of his favorite children. No, I'm joking. No, I do believe I'm one of God's favorite kids, but I honestly believe it's just because I spend so much time with him. And would you not be favoriting somebody who spends so much time with you as your child? You know what I'm saying? So we are there. We do our subjects. She goes to study pure maths. I go to study pure chemistry. I actually wanted to study maths initially, but there's a whole reason why I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't in the end. Praise be the name of Jesus. Everything works out for good for those who are in Christ Jesus, according to the Bible, according to Romans 8. So we are there in the thing together. We then leave to go to university. Her university was slightly better than mine. I picked my university for a lot of reasons. A, because I was like, I have to move to London so I can actually do dance on the side. And also I want to live in London. Like, I want to be in London City. This is the capital of the United Kingdom. Like, I'm going to be there. So, and she goes somewhere else. So she goes where she goes, I go where I go. Well, our relationship, it works throughout uni. We're both uni students. We both leave. We're both happy with our grades. And we both did very well at university. Become adults now. Here's what the difference. So while she was at uni, she decided to do an extra 18-month apprenticeship, because you can do these degrees. With degrees, you can do degrees where you add like a year of work. You can do degrees, a year of placement. So they place you in the industry while you're also studying. You can also add a year of research. So like the way I did, like my year of research was intertwined with my actual 3-year degree, but you can also do one where you get then another year in actual research as well. There's a lot of things you can do. So she did a year in placement. She did 18 months. She did 18 months in placement. She was put into one of the biggest media companies in England. She was working. She was making very good money, saving up. I was very happy for her because I was like, you go, girl. She saved a good bit of money. Again, towards thinking about getting a house one day, she was like, I'm going to try and save. And she saved very well. She's very good with money. She's a mathematician, so she's really good with money. And so I was so happy for her. I was like, you go, girl. She did her thing. I did not decide to do a year in placement. I was like, I'm going to be graduating at 21. I'm not spending one more year in this education system. I'm getting it done and I'm getting it done. So when I graduated, I was like, I'm not going back for nothing. Like, I would have to literally be offered my dream PhD, like I sent you guys in my recent video, to go back to uni, because there's not a chance in hell I'm going back to uni when I can literally do so much without uni, right? Anyway, so I've gone off, started a business, started my company, started working independently, started working self-employed, and it was really good. And I couldn't believe I'd achieved it. Within months of graduating, I bagged my first job as a dance teacher. And it was for a pretty big deal. It was for this event. There was like a famous comedian there. There was a lot of stuff going on there. It was really, really very cool. I didn't even know the comedian was famous until after the fact. So she has gone there now to do a master's degree, which, again, if you are getting on student loan, is another, at the time I was doing it, 10 to 11,000 Great British pound sterling to do for the just on tuition fees. Because I want to say that especially if you're living in London, your costs are at least equivalent or less. Because I had a degree, I got student loan, I also got loan for like some of my maintenance stuff. I was also still working as well on top of it. Anything I got from the government was not enough to live a very basic life in London. Gosh, guys, there were days that I literally actually did not eat, or nearly didn't eat at all. When I say nearly, I mean as in like I had scrounged together the last £3 I had, literally £3. And yeah, it was crazy. And I've learned so much about money from like just being in certain positions. The other day, Tristan, I think it was Tristan Taylor or Andrew, was talking about how working in McDonald's really helped them realize the value of money, and my same experience. If I'm standing here, you're paying me £3.50, £3 like 41 or something I was getting paid per hour. At the end of my shift, most people have paid card, and my till has £1,000 in cash. Over £1,000, and I'm getting paid £3.41 per hour. I learned it all in my first job at 16. Again, probably was doing it at the same time I was at this college, this sixth form with my friend. Anyway, so she is now gone to do her, she went to do her thing. It was very good. It was very cool what she got to do. She was getting free tickets to a lot of these big shows and stuff. It was very cool. And then after she does her master's, of which she also absolutely killed her master's, incredible work that she did, really incredible stuff. Like, I'm so proud of her. Like, I'm proud of her, and what she's done is worth it. If it means something to you, I'm just saying that on a profitable, on a numerical value level, it's not what it looks like it should be. So she goes to do her master's. I'm working for myself. I'm just literally going around London, booking meetings, going to networking things. I used to just like go onto Eventbrite, and I used to search all the meetings where there was networking, and I would just show up looking like a businesswoman. I would have my lanyard on, which is my lanyard I made literally, and the ID, my company ID, which I also made. And I would just, you know what I'm saying? I would just, spit game in business. So that's how everything happened, because I'll just be talking to people, but like, hi, and I know how to do it well. I'm very good at playing roles, I can't lie. Always wanted to be an actress, but I don't want to be an actress now because I don't want to act like anybody but myself. But anyway, so that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. And she's doing her master's. Okay, now, according to society, right, obviously, let's just take luck out of the situation for a second and just look at the numbers, okay? Because some people are like, yeah, you got lucky. I didn't get lucky. Trust me, I worked so hard. I used to work more hours than most adults work today, who are complaining about the state of their lives when they don't even have kids. They don't even anything. Anyway, so I was doing that. I was started to make good money, and I was living the lifestyle, as they say, right? She gets a job, a very, very good job as a data analyst in a huge company in central London again. Now, I want to preface this with this. The way she got into this job was not even because of her degree. It was because of a job she did before. And the job that she did before is a job that at the time she was telling me I should tell my 21-year-old brother who does not have a degree in anything yet, because he's too young, bless his soul. Was he 21? How old is he? Yeah, he was too young to even have been at the time of finishing a degree, right? He was studying. She was like, you should just tell him to apply for this job. That job that she had got her to this next job, data analyst, central London. So I'm like, so my brother doesn't need a degree, just like I always thought. And that's one of the things in my brother, I wish he would realize he does not need a degree. He doesn't. Some people do, depending on what you want to do. For him, I don't believe he needs one. And I believe that it's a waste of everybody's time and money. Anyway, so I now and her, she's done her 3 years, £9,000 tuition fee, plus 11 years masters, plus a year in placement. I don't know if she pays anything for that in her degree. I should have asked. I wish I thought to ask that before. Goes to do this, and now she gets in this data analyst job. Okay. She, because of her earnings in her role, is paying so much on tax, so much in back to student finance, that the job that she had, that my brother, that an unqualified, undegreeified person can just apply for, and the job she's in now. And despite doing a year in industry and a master's, right, and a full degree in pure mathematics, she is only making extra £300. 300 Great British pounds per month. We were both mathematicians, so we always used to talk about stuff in maths, and maths is actually what made us friends, because we were like, oh my gosh, it's so weird to like, it's so unusual to have like a friend who's a mathematician. And she's also stunningly beautiful, by the way. She was like half, her dad is Indian, her mum is British. She's just a beautiful girl, right? As I'm saying, all my friends have always been all over the place. That's why I find this race stuff really weird, because I've just always been friends with so many different types of races and people that like, and even in churches, I've been in so many different churches. Actually, it's one of the things I pay attention about church. I don't do this one color church. If I go into a church and I see that there's one color only in there, I'm not there. I don't care if it's black, I don't care if it's white, I don't care if it's Asian. If it's a mixture, that's a good sign to me that the Lord is at work here, because God's voice is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and whatever language and whatever corner of the planet you're from. £300 extra is all that this girl was making. Coalition. So I was like, how did we actually even get to this reality that you can put in such hard work? Because I honestly, I was taking the risky route, and we talked about how I was taking the risky route. And so I was really hoping, genuinely, I know that with my heart, I was genuinely hoping this decision was going to work out for her. Like, I was genuinely hoping in that, thinking like, this is going to like figure itself. This is the way that everybody's, you see how the Bible says Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. This is the way, according to the world, is to do that. But she's making £300 only extra a year. And can I tell you something else interesting about that? Y'all ain't ready for this. So then, right, how is she going to work? Right. So this town that we live in, this town that I currently live in, is the town I mainly grew up in. How is she getting to work? Well, is she paying for it? She drives since she was 17. You know, her dad, family paid for her driving, whatever, paid for her dad, paid for her car. And I'm pretty sure her dad paid for her insurance for like a long time. He may even still be paying for it. That man, I respect her father, by the way, so highly, because he came out from nothing. Him and his mum worked together really hard. Started out that her mum was the one who was like working, and her dad was trying out a lot of things. He got into golf, bought golf club, left the golf club, all sorts of things. He worked really hard, and they worked really well as a team. Now he's rich. Now they're filthy rich, actually. They're so rich now. So I'm like, good shout out to her parents for working as a collaborative team. Like, whoever needed to work was working. Whoever needed to grind was grinding. They were working and grinding together. And now her mum doesn't even have to work, because he's making so much money. And he enjoys spoiling himself and his family, because he's like, yeah, I made bank. I make bank now. And I'm like, sir, you deserve it. Like, you show off. Show up. Go off, king. Like, I'm loving that for him. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so she's her mum now. Well, whenever we last spoke. How is she getting to work? How is she doing all the normal things? These things are going to cost money, which I'm counting because I'm the one spending said pieces of money, right? We don't live in London. This place where I live is close to London. You can get into London pretty quickly, but it's expensive. So, like, for example, this is a perfect time for me to even mention this, right? So I've been traveling more. Last year I traveled quite a lot. And people will look at me as if I've just got all this money to spend, all this money to waste. Let me tell you something. I live a 30-minute drive from London. It will cost me more money to buy the train to London than to buy a plane ticket to Milan, Italy. In fact, on top of also getting the transport to the airport, I can get to the airport and to Milan, Italia, cheaper than I can get a train to London that is a 30-minute drive away from where I'm living, where I'm sitting right now. That's what I'm talking about. Right. So her mum takes her to work every day and picks her up from the train station. So even the life that she's sustaining in her big job, which is amazing. Like I said, I think she's doing such a good job. We used to talk about the types of jobs we wanted to do. She always knew. She's the one person on planet Earth, if you ask, what's the company that I want to work for? More than anything, she's the one person who can tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, Rolls-Royce. I remember her looking into Rolls-Royce while we were 16, because I was looking there. I was like, should I go do an apprenticeship? And anyone, I was battling at the time. I'm like, do I follow my head or my heart? Do I go where God is telling me, or do I follow what the world is telling me? And I've had all those seasons in my life so many times. She will tell you without a shadow of a doubt that I would work in Rolls-Royce, because that is the truth, by the way. So to see her making only £300 more per month in an unqualifiable job to a qualified master's year in placement degree certified job. Because why? The money we were paying on taxes and the money you're paying back to student finance is so much when you have a good job as a young person. So no, I can't just go and get a good job and just go and just save, like a lot of people like to say. That's not realistic, because I'm not going to save every bracket I reach. The same way the tax brackets change is the same way that my student finance brackets is going to change. There's people who came out from my degree at 21 years old and went and studied and went and got a job. They were making 60,000 Great British pounds per year with a chemistry degree. That's one of the things where I was like, wow, I've really actually picked the best degree. Because imagine walking out at 21 and starting a job at 60k because of doing this degree. So I was like, wow, this must be an actually good degree. I didn't realize. I didn't never study my degree because I thought it was going to be so anything. Realistically, I chose to study chemistry. I just I'm going to choose to study the subject I enjoy the most. I enjoyed maths more, but my maths teacher, we'll talk about him another day. Again, number one in the country. She could not have written the story better if she tried for herself and how it all figured itself out. But even she and me, regardless of what happened with me, are in the same position here. You can't buy a house. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do that. So when people ask me also about my belief in God and how I believe in God, if you own a home, if you own anything on this planet, privileged. If you are asking how I believe in God and you own a piece of land or you own a house and your belief in God isn't more than mine, you are privileged. There's something about your experience where you are so comfortable in this world. This is something I've been thinking about a lot, with Abraham in particular. Abraham, think about this. I want to live like Abraham. That's really how I want to live, right? My life. I want to live however Abraham was living. And it's not because of this, but I want to say this. Abraham was living in such a way that he doesn't have a comfortable home set up. You see all these things that we have, whatever, that's sustaining him the way we do. So if there's a storm coming, if there's a storm right now, I will shut my window and I will move on with my day. In fact, I'll probably take the best nap of my freaking life. Right? He is in a tent. He is with his family, his flock, his everything. Do we wonder why it's hard for us to trust in the Lord when we don't have places for the Lord no more because we got so much to be comfortable about? You know what I'm saying? This is why I don't want to become comfortable in this world, with the world and with the things of this world. And I really believe that's what, even with my degree, I was like, I don't want to just keep doing things because according to everybody, this is what's supposed to get you safe in life. This is why I have the understanding I have of Jesus. If you've ever not had somewhere to live, something to eat, or somewhere to sleep, if you've never been in those situations, it's always going to be harder for you to understand and to receive Jesus and to understand the need for the Lord because you ain't been in need. When you're in need, when you're in a place of need, when you don't have something and something incredible happens, that's what happens in my life all the time. Like, there was a time, I remember this so well because of the person that I was with and where I was living. I was supposed to be not evicted, because it's not that like I hadn't paid rent. I want to be very clear, but like my contract was coming to an end. I didn't have somewhere else, and also I didn't even have money. This was during COVID. I didn't even have money. Like, I wasn't even making the money I needed to make and whatnot and what have you to move somewhere else and have enough to pay the deposit and pay for this. Because when you move somewhere, there's all the like other costs that are not just you paying a rent. There's the deposit, which is usually at least a month's rent. Sometimes they ask for 2-3 months rent. It's all of that. #adulting. So I was like, God, I can't afford to move right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it was coming up to a couple of days before I should have left the house. And I just I just left it with the Lord. And I told the person that I was with at the time, I was like, listen, God is I'm trusting in the Lord. We went on a trip. Actually at the very last minute. We must have decided on like a Sunday, left on Monday to Scotland. I love me some Scotland. Also, when I talk about baby reindeer, you guys aren't ready for my videos about baby reindeer. I love it. It's good. And I have a lot of thoughts on the aftermath. But anyway, and to Scotland. Scotland, my favourite place in England. And in the United Kingdom, Scotland is my favourite place to go. I've been to Wales, I've been to Ireland, I've been to England, I've been to Scotland. And I have to say, all the other places take the cake above England, I'm not going to lie. Because the people are just way nicer and more, to the point. Scotland takes the cake. So, as we are now walking through the gates of the airport, and I remember, like, to get on the flight to go to Scotland, just like that, text message from my landlord, hi, just wanted to ask, do you want to actually stay an extra 3 months? Because and that was all the 3 months that was needed, you guys. And I was there. And the person I was with was like, wow, you really said that was going to happen. And I was like, yeah, because my God, he delivers. I don't put my trust in the things of this world. I don't put my trust in this planet where we form coalitions and bipartisan, whatever you want to call it, bisexual. You see something, guys? I'll tell you something. I do think women are beautiful, and I do think women are beautiful in every way, shape, and form. I am definitely heterosexual, and it's not a personal thing. It's not a judgment. It's not even a judgment like against the people who are not. It's just, as a woman, I have space for that. Just like, I love the dynamic between men and women. I love that we're not the same, and I love we're so different. Because men are the most interesting things in this world to me, because I just don't understand them at all and how they operate, because they are like aliens, and yet the only thing that's different about us is our gender. Are you kidding me? That is one of the most interesting, intoxicating subjects you can possibly think about to me, because I'm like, oh, we're not even that different though, but we're so different. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm very much in favor. I'm very much heterosexual woman. I love me some men. I love the men. I love men. Like, men are just incredible. Like, God created them. They have things that they just do, and they just do well as men because they're men, and I just love it about them. And I'm like not even in competition with that, because I'm like, listen, just shine, go off, king. So that's like my friend and her parents. That's why I respected her dad so much, because he did something which I feel like most men would love to do, which is make so much money that he could just pay for everything. Like, he paid for everything for his kids. Like, he was sending her money while she was at uni. He's paying for this, he's paying off that, he's paying off this. What? They're not giving you student loan, I'm paying. I'm looking after you. We're going to go on holiday, where we're going to go to. I'm looking after everyone in this house is living and being looked after because of me. And he enjoyed it. And I loved that for him. Like, respect to you, sir, because you worked hard. You and your wife, they worked so hard together as a family, the two of them as a couple, for them to get to that point, because there were times where it wasn't really looking like things were going to work for him. There were times where she had issues, she was ill, stuff I won't get into right now. But they worked as a team, and they made it work, and they pulled themselves out of poverty, and now they live in like the 1%, and I'm loving that for them. And again, bipartisan, bisexual, perpendicular bisector. Perpendicular bisector, the line that splits perfectly in half. Half is not whole, and half is separation and division. That is what coalition ensues in this world, because how can two walk together unless they are agreed? Exactly. And on that note, shout out to the people doing their exams this season. I'm praying for you all. I'm praying for you guys. If life's a game, let's play to win. And I'm done.